It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I am Iron Man.
I'm Pickle Rick!
I have a dream.
I am your father.
I'm Sean Spencer. This is my partner, Gus Silly Pants Jackson.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
God bless America.
Avengers!
Assemble.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune. When I'm back on top in June. I said that's life.
Welcome back to life, you beautiful,
Oh my goodness.
beautiful human beings. Listen, we're on take like 9 at this point between dogs, audio, video problems, and then just playing dad. Dad's in the studio
I'm being
today.
Don Rickles, and
No,
you don't like the fact I'm being sarcastic.
He shows up and he's like, he just like, I'm gonna be a character today. I'm like, okay, and he's Don Rickles, and every take is just like, you're stupid, you're ugly, the Ducks suck, I hate everything about you. And I'm like, what is going on? He's like, I'm Don Rickles today.
Hi,
So he's just
my fans out there.
I
There
was
you go.
like, okay,
So I'm looking at the fans over here. How you doing?
that's creepy. Don't make eye contact with the fans.
Why?
Because it's just weird. It's like an office situation. Like I do it. It's kind of like a gym. Like you look, but then you're back to the person.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's weird.
All right, well, finish your introduction so we can.
Welcome back to life. At That's Life with Jacob on social media, Instagram, OnlyFans, whichever way you want to find me. You know, one's a picture of the podcast, one's a picture of my feet. You can decide what you want to look at. At That's Life, Rumble, YouTube, all that's been popping off lately, which is pretty cool.
What is Rumble?
Rumble is YouTube without all of the red tape. So Rumble really blew up during COVID because Rumble allowed like Joe Rogan and people like that to talk about the vaccines and to talk about COVID, and YouTube was taking those people down. Rumble's anarchy. Rumble is one step away from allowing ISIS beheading videos. Like it is the wild, wild west. But I do love Rumble.
Okay, I don't think I've ever actually looked on it.
So Rumble's actually the only thing I've ever made like money on video wise. Funny enough.
That was your feet video again?
Yeah. Yeah. I got a nice pedicure and had to show to all my subscribers. But Rumble's great. We love Rumble. But yeah, follow me on there.
How do they make money?
How does Rumble make money?
Mm-hmm.
Monetization, commercials. Like a couple of like Steven Crowder, somebody I used to watch for a while, and they ad plugs and same way as YouTube. Basically, they just got tired of
The internet's getting annoying about that now, though, with Instagram and Snapchat and.
Well, they
all
want
that.
you to pay for
You're
basically
getting
no
constant-
commercials or
right.
ads.
You get constant commercials. You're halfway through watching a police chase, and all of a sudden you're talking about
they pulled out
hemorrhoids.
their guns and have you ever had hemorrhoids? And it's like, what is going on right now?
Yeah. So, anyways, what were we talking about?
Nothing. Hey, welcome in.
Thank you.
For the 8th time. We
So I
were
keep-
talking about.
I keep asking the same question,
What?
and you keep cutting me off after I make fun of the Oregon Ducks.
You're not making fun
Why
of the Ducks.
are you a Duck fan?
I explain this, and then you're just like, you somehow go into this Don Rickles bit where you're like, you're ugly again. I'm like, what does that have to do with?
I just said that I was
I'm
shocked
an Oregon
that your
Ducks fan.
giant duck was not real because I saw on sports bloopers last year that your duck lost his head and there was a
At the Purdue game.
half-digested human inside, which I thought was kind of creepy.
At the Purdue game. I was at that game. Me and all 7,000 people in Purdue, Indiana. Or where's it at? Fort Wayne? Where's it at? Where's Purdue?
Lafayette.
Lafayette. I couldn't think of it. Yeah. Dude, that's an interesting breed of humans there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Asians, a lot of inbreds. That's all I'm saying.
I've been to Purdue University home games before, tailgating.
That's where, I mean, yeah, we went because that's the only way to see Oregon, and they played Purdue. And it's an interesting people.
So you were at a Ducks game, and now you spend your life traveling and have
Steve
Ducks
took me to a game, my
tattooed on
brother-in-law,
you,
who
Ducks all over this room.
Yeah, Steve took me to a game, my brother-in-law, who's also from Chicago and has no real ties to Oregon. He's a big fan. We bonded over that. I'm a massive fan. Now the entire family, minus like you, are all giant Oregon Duck fans. I went to Eugene last year, which was pretty dope. And yeah, I love what I love. Listen, I am a simple man. If I love something, I love it a lot. Funko Pop shoes, the Oregon Ducks, you, I guess.
You're simple. I got you.
Yeah.
So, is that too Don Rickles for you?
No.
Okay, Don Rickles, there is no Don Rickles today because
You
he would
couldn't
get
have
canceled.
Don Rickles
No.
today.
I mean, he would get out there and rip Jews and Asians and do all kinds of, Hasidic. And I mean, he just, you watch the old roast.
I love
when he
those,
roasts Mr. T and stuff and would do the black jokes and stuff. Nobody could do that today. Nobody.
Well, some of that stuff, you're like, maybe nobody should do some of that stuff today. He did go over the line. But you are right in the sense that a lot of that old school comedy where you could just, like you're joking with your pals, you can't do.
Right.
Because it's looked at as hate speech or homophobic or whatever. If they're Christian, you're anti-Christian if you make a joke. And it's like,
Go back to watch the old TV. I was just watching an old episode of Sanford and Son. I can't tell you I've ever watched more than 10 in my life. But they were using the N-word like it was hello and goodbye. And that was on national TV back in the
literally
70s.
that's on like HBO and stuff now. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's got a warning on it if you
Yeah.
if you do it now. And it's just such a different craziness.
I did see somebody was like, it was a comedian, and he goes, "You can't say retarded anymore." And he goes, my dad was sitting beside me, and he goes, they used to say retarded on commercials.
Yeah.
He's like,
Oh, that word highly offends your sister. I mean,
oh yeah.
you can't use it.
Here's what I get, and here's the thing. I get it to an extent. I get saying things to an extent where it's like, okay, let's have some decorum here. Let's have some respect. But it's the fact that you can't say anything without now instantly being labeled. If I disagree with you over a sports take, it's because I hate Michael Jordan, and that somehow leads to it's like, or whatever. I don't like this type of person or somebody that with this social background or this whatever religion. Yeah. It's like,
if you watch Ricky Gervais at all, and you've got to watch some of his stuff, it does have some strong language at times, but he does talk about that. And he talks about when man was created and God was trying to decide what to do with man. Should he have armor? They go, no, he won't have armor. He'll have big claws so that he can defend himself. No, he'll have super strength. No, he'll have the best brain. And he can think of ways to take down dinosaurs. He can think of ways to defend himself against bears. And eventually, words will hurt him. And he goes,
But here's the sad part: is literally, people are losing their job. Like people are just getting canceled for jokes that they made 12, 15, 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah. When it was different because we were talking about
it was just a different way of life.
Comedies in the previous 19 takes we took. We talked about Three Amigos, which was hilarious. Three Amigos is hilarious.
Top 10 comedy in my life.
Written by Steve Martin, and I watched sometime on his podcast about when he went and got Martin Short, how they got together to do that movie. Martin Short, I think it was Martin Short, went over to Steve Martin's house to decide whether he was going to do that movie. And when he walked into Steve Martin's house and saw all these multi-million-dollar artworks all over the wall, he went, okay, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing something. He's got Rodin and all these famous Picassos and stuff hanging all over because he's an art collector. I think I'll do your movie. And I'm glad they didn't do another two because it would have been crappy.
Well, it's the same thing with like Elf when everybody's like, well, just make a sequel because the first one was good. It's very similar to Napoleon Dynamite and Elf, a Three Amigos. Some of these movies, just the pure magic that came together. So many things had to come together for everything to land and be perfect. Leave it alone.
And so much of it was ad lib, and the ad lib is what's fun.
Because most of those movies, it's always those movies that had no budget. It's like, hey, we have the same amount of money as you do to make a movie. So like a lot of those scenes where the guy in the red suit is jogging, the fat guy that looks like Santa and Elf.
Elf, right?
That they just were rolling on the streets of New York, and that guy just happened to be there.
And when he's hopping through the intersection, that's in front of live traffic.
Yeah,
that was just
legit.
Or spinning in that. Turning doors and stuff. That was just him doing that. So,
yeah, you can't do
that's comedy gold.
They can't make movies like they did back then. Like I said, there's a balance, right? Back then, 14-year-olds were smoking in school hallways, and it's like, okay, maybe we should put some regulations on it.
Oh, when I was in school, we had a smoking area outside, and you growing up, when you grew up, you had smoking areas in restaurants.
Oh no, yeah, I remember going into Chili's, and
it was always funny, just on the other side of the plexiglass, just like stupid COVID and all the rest of these.
There's
plexiglass, stop that germ from.
There's no smoking here, and then beside us was just a dude going,
Yeah. Is a smoking section.
yeah,
so.
and no walls, no partitions. It was just you're in the same building, just one guy was actively smoking. So like I do understand things needing to evolve, but yeah, you can't really tell jokes anymore. Dude, I've gotten pretty much banned on TikTok for making a joke or two. I made a joke where I found a nutcracker that looked like Hitler. And so I raised one of his arms.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And then I
You
was
got
like,
canceled off of that?
dude, I got blown up by TikTok. TikTok was like, you violated all these rules, anti-Semitism. I'm like, I didn't salute back. I literally went, oh, I'm
Yeah.
not buying that one. And then I got in trouble for it. So, yeah, one extreme to the other. Okay.
Back to Three Amigos. Which one do you like the best?
We are the three amigos. Chevy Chase probably has my favorite line in the entire movie.
Which
It's
is?
so subtle and simple. They're in this Mexican village, right? And it's a Mexican village in Mexico. And he's trying to eat a taco and the meat keeps falling off. And he just looks up at this Mexican woman. He goes, do you guys have anything besides Mexican food? I don't know why, but to me, that is one of the best lines in the entire film.
They
Simple.
probably don't even call it Mexican food when you're in Mexico.
No, they probably just call it food.
Right.
But it's just that's the funny part is he's like, do you guys have anything besides Mexican food? And her like it's just simple, easy, clean.
And when he was early on, when he first started with Saturday Night Live, which I snuck to watch because we weren't allowed to watch growing up in an independent fundamental KJV Baptist only home, Saturday Night Live was one of those things preached against. He started out and did the news thing, news update.
Oh yeah.
And all that. He was hilarious. And then he went in to do his Christmas Vacation. And that was the only one he did. Family Vacation, Christmas Vacation, those two, they were both pretty much the same funny. But he's not well liked, man. People trash
He's
him.
a terrible human being. He said racial slurs,
I
sexual
think as he's
harassment.
gotten older, though, people have tried to put him out there, and he's calmed down as he got older.
Well,
Maybe
I
he
mean,
realized that
you get for the last 20 years he's been called a terrible person, anti or a racist and a sexual harasser.
yeah.
Definitely changes a man.
Well, I don't think most of Hollywood is probably people you'd.
I love. We were just talking about this. Is like the one celebrity's nice out in like a public viewing. We're like, they just seem like a nice guy, and then 2 weeks later, Mel Gibson beat his wife, and you're like, oh, all right. I thought he was cool because he was nice to that Down syndrome kid on the Tonight Show, but they're all pretty terrible human beings.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've ever met a celebrity that kind of
I have.
measured up to what I was hoping.
Oh,
I met. I've had a couple encounters with Reba, and she was super nice, super kind. She didn't mind the fact that I jumped in her lap and begged her to marry me. So
I'll leave my wife today.
And no, she was super kind. She sought me out after one play that we did to compliment what I did and compliment what Ruth had done. But I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that my favorite magician growing up was Harry Blackstone Jr. And I got to meet him after one of his last shows in Chicago. We hung out for a good hour and a half after the show and just sat and talked. And
Hey, is this guy going to leave anytime soon? No.
I, in fact, ran into his wife at a convention here last year in Vegas and recounted the story. And she goes, hey, did we go get beefs afterwards? And I went, no, we didn't. And I said, you had your kids and I had to go home to mine or something. But she did remember hanging out. She said that was something he did. But that was another one where the first time I met him and every time I met him, he lived up to what I was hoping. And then there's some, Walter Payton was another one. Dan Hampton was another one where casually met them.
Who's Dan Hampton?
Who is Dan?
Does he own Hampton Inns?
No,
I'm
Dan
confused.
Hampton. Danimal, the animal.
Oh,
from
okay.
The 85 Bears. They play in that city with the world's greatest basketball player used to play. That's Michael Jordan. Just in case you
I'm
weren't.
not getting into Braun versus Jordan.
Yeah, good, because you'd have to fall to the ground and start crying. But I don't know if there's ever one. Those are ones. Have you ever met a celebrity that lived up to what you thought?
Oddly enough, I've met a lot of celebrities. I'm trying to think. I like Reba was super cool, super sweet. Um, they're all fine. Like I've met a bunch of the Titans players doing like charity events and stuff, and like they're fine, they're nice. But a lot of the celebrities I've met, it's been in such a public setting that they couldn't. Like I've met a couple organically, and they've always been tools. Jason Aldean, I'm sorry. I've said this a million times. Jason Aldean was one of the meanest people I've ever met. Could not have been ruder to me, and then couldn't have been ruder to you. And he was eating at Zaxby's in Gallatin, Tennessee. It wasn't like I went up to him at the Opry and I was like, "Excuse me, sir." Like I didn't stalk him. I didn't sit beside him and start singing one of his crappy songs. Like I just was trying to talk to the guy. And he couldn't have been, or excuse me, I wasn't trying to talk to the guy. On our way out, all I said was, "Hey, big fan of your music." And at the time I was, a girl in my high school did one of his music videos. And so like, and it was a big song. What? Chilling on a dirt road, lay back working like, yeah, that one. So, that's all we said. And he was just like, "Oh, okay, whatever. Don't bother me." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was also 12 or 13 at the time. But as far as like most of the other celebrities I've ever met, like Carrie Underwood couldn't have been nicer. Keith Urban couldn't have been nicer. Actually, I don't know if I've told this story on here. I met Little Big Town. I served them in Olive Garden. So I worked at Olive Garden, and they go, "Hey, Jacob, we need you to take this kind of VIP table." And I'm like, it's it's Olive Garden on a Friday. What VIP is coming to Olive Garden when you have all those amazing places around? And Little Big Town was awesome. I mean, I don't know their names, but the one dude tried to get me to smoke a blunt with him, and I was like, "Hey, I'm on shift. I can't go out there and smoke with you. I don't smoke." And he's like, "That's good, man. I'm just gonna smoke out here if anybody has any questions." I was like, "Okay." They spent $7,000 at an Olive Garden. They bought every bottle of wine they could think of, and then they let us go sit in their Batman limo and hang out. And the one lady's like, "You're coming out." The one lady with the blonde curly hair, she's like, "You're coming out with us, right?" And I said, "No." "What do you mean no?" Because like they were awesome, but I can't remember, like, besides Jason Aldean, I don't remember any other celebrities that were terrible people.
Got to hang out with Hank Williams Jr. once, and that was very nice. He was very kind, super nice. All the Sox, I did security for White Sox and had a great time back in the day with those players. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've had a really bad encounter, but the ones that I've wanted to meet, and I've seen them out before, and if they're out with their family or out in public, I'll just do a smile and a nod because that's their private time. And although I was at Kid Rock's bar downtown Nashville, I heard this music going, and I went in to look, and I'm standing there talking, and people are talking next to me, and I look up, and there's a hand on my shoulder, and he's standing next to me, and he was being nice, and he was out in the middle of the crowd. So,
what the crap are you doing at Kid Rock's bar?
I'd come out of the House of Cards, and there was just a huge thing going on. So I had on. He may have thought I was security because I had on a sport coat.
Yeah, he probably did. He's like, "Hey, man, you're supposed to usher me to my car now."
And,
Okay.
He was just hanging out with the people, and he was seemed super nice. I said hi to him, and he said hi, and I didn't have my camera out to take pictures or nothing, but I don't know. But I had something happen to me the other day, and that I was shopping at Kroger, your Kroger.
My Kroger's the worst.
Yeah. Grocery stores in general, I have very little patience in. I was shopping at your Kroger, and I was going down the aisle, which now I purposely think about the fact that how I go out in public because I perform in public so often. And this is the second time.
Hey! I can't say it. Never mind.
Watch what you say. And this is the second time it's happened in the last 6 months. But she said, "Hey, I really enjoyed your show last night. You were really funny." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." And I remembered her she had come to our show downtown Nashville. And so as I was walking away, somebody turned to her and they said, who is that? Thinking I'm a music artist or something. And she said,
Have
no.
you ever heard of Jason Aldean?
She said, no, he's a magician. We saw his magic show downtown Nashville yesterday. It was really good. And she was telling him who I was, which I thought was kind of an ego boost. But, I'm sure.
Dude, it is. I mean, it is a great show.
If you had it happen all the time, it might get annoying. I don't know.
No, it would. Dude, and here's how you know, because if we get one little ounce of fame or boost, or someone tells you did a good job, that's why I'm convinced this is why bosses don't say good job, because the second an employee or somebody gets a good job, everybody's like, oh, that's right, I'm the greatest that's ever been here. And it's like, yeah. How do you expect these people who we give hundreds of millions of dollars to and tell them they're the greatest thing to ever walk the earth? I don't know why we all expect them to be like, oh, they're pretty nice. Like, oh, it doesn't bother them at all. There's very few guys there are people that you hear of that are like, I'll sign an autograph. I'll take a picture.
Well, I ran into Golden, the big long-haired beard guy.
Golden Tate. That's the only, who's Golden?
Golden from the Oak Ridge Boys.
Oh, okay.
I've run into him shopping a couple of times, and big fan of the.
Did you run into him because you accidentally stepped on his beard?
No.
Oh, excuse me.
But I had just subscribed to one of his channels because he's a great photographer, and I was looking at some of his photography, and then I ran into him later that day, and we stood and talked about that.
Hey, I was looking at your photography earlier.
And
he's like, "Oh, you're my one follower on that page? Weird."
So, man, the Oaks have been around forever, since the 40s. In fact, how they got their names.
Get into that mic, by the way.
How they got their names was super cool. But that was your grandma's favorite group, the Oak Ridge Boys. But he was super kind, and we started talking. And I said, "Hey, I don't want to disturb you while you're grocery shopping." He goes, "No, man. Which picture did you like?"
No, what aisle you going to? Come on. See, but
so-
that's a different type of celebrity. You know what I mean? It's not your big Hollywood blockbuster people, or
he's not a Tom Cruise,
or it's not like Jason Aldean. When I talked to him, or like when I tried to speak to him, at that time he just hit like 3 number ones, was arguably the biggest name in country at the time. Horrible, but like the Oak Ridge Boys have had their time in the spotlight, and like they're respected, and now it probably does mean a lot more to them that people still listen to them, and
they're local, but the other people used to be local. Conway Twitty was here, and I know people that used to see and talk to him all the time. He grocery shopped here. Johnny Cash. I was just talking to my neighbor the other day, and he recounted the time that he was shopping in a Kroger in Hendersonville, and next to June and Johnny Cash that were just out grocery shopping. And you can't have a bigger star than him.
The country world's kind of weird though, where it's like the country world. Now they're more celebrity type, but like back then they were just like good old boys that had a great voice and a guitar that kind of lucked into fame. They just loved music. Like a lot of those guys, your Oak Ridge Boys and stuff like that, they were just, like good old boys that loved to sing.
Well, what do you think of modern country?
Modern country's trash.
Okay.
I mean, here's the deal.
Because Opry just had their big 100-year anniversary, and they honored True Country, and I think it was Alan Jackson or somebody who kind of said that and just ratted on
it's hip hop,
modern country.
It's how could they get a simple phrase and they go, oh, whatever this simple phrase is, I'm country and you know it, and then they repeat it 17 times, and then they throw beer and a truck in there and they call it country. It's not. It's hip hop. Or it's pop.
And they're megastars too. They're not.
No, that's what I'm saying.
People,
that's what I'm saying.
The people that you see and walking around. One of the greatest Alan Jacksons. I think it was Alan Jackson who always recorded live. Would never sing recorded stuff.
It was. I'm pretty sure.
And
him or George Strait. I can't remember.
They asked him to sing on an award show, and he said, okay, but they said, but you can't sing live. You have to sing taped. And they argued about it, and he went ahead and sang taped. But as a kind of a screw you, his drummer did the whole thing without drumsticks. He sat and played all the drums like he had drumsticks. But so if you look over his shoulder, you see his drummer drumming without drumsticks the entire time, just so you know it was fake.
Oh, I'm gonna do it. That's probably why God has never made me famous, because if I was that famous, I think I would be that petty still. Like just for the joke of it all, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Or no strings on my guitar.
Yeah,
I've done something.
100.
Yeah.
I would sing on the reverse side of the microphone. 100%, I'd be a tool. But no, that's what I was saying is like the country stars now are basically pop stars. They're all, they're celebrities. They're not country artists. Like honestly, Carrie Underwood is one of the biggest names still in country, but she's still like a normal, like they go shopping and they're seen in downtown Franklin all the time and all that. But anyways, I don't know how we got caught on celebrities, but yeah.
So you don't like Chevy Chase?
Yeah, Chevy Chase is terrible. It's not me.
I think that's how we
Listen,
got it.
some racism, I understand. Sexual harassment, okay,
But you have to, again, not to defend him at all, but if you look back at the sketches that he was allowed to do on Saturday Night Live with Richard Pryor and that type of thing, that the stuff that was allowed on the air back then kind of bred that and accepted it.
It was accepted.
You weren't offended by words. You thought it was funny. That's why Don Rickles made a living making fun of people. And again, there's no Don Rickles around today, and I don't think you could have
There can't
one.
be. Well, here's the problem, though, is that era, basically what they did is they go, we've been allowed to do this, therefore it's still okay. Which, there's parts of it that still are. Some people, like, there's several things that Don Rickles and people said where it's like, okay, well, maybe let's pump the brakes. Even like, I would say the closest we have is Dave Chappelle, that still just doesn't give a flying crap. Him, Ricky Gervais, guys like that. But they even still go to a line, and they'll cross it more than anybody else will, but there's still that line now that you can't really say or do anything. Bro.
Well, Chappelle and Gervais are probably, and that other guy who they tried to cancel, can't think of his name. They're independent, wealthy enough.
Well, that's the thing, is they've already made their money.
They don't care.
Correct.
You can't cancel them.
Correct.
The little guy, anything underneath them, yeah, you could destroy their life, their career.
That's what they do
families. Now. You got somebody like who's hilarious, who the Christian John Crist.
John Crist, yeah.
Who kind of is the Don Rickles to religion.
Yeah.
So but he grew up in it, and I even with my magic show when I do churches and stuff, I have a briefcase, an old suitcase that says Baptist luggage on it, and I make fun of my Baptist upbringing through some of the tricks I do, and
well, okay. So speaking on like, it was kind of like that. They were allowed to say stuff that religion back then was way different than it is today too. It was so legalistic most of the time in the how we acted, how we thought, things we had to do. If you didn't wear a tie, you were sinning. And so that's kind of the background John Crist came from, which is what I think what makes him so funny is how relatable his material is to somebody who grew up in church. It's not, the thing is, the intentions weren't always bad behind it, which is how people get misconstrued. It's like, oh, he's anti-religion and God now. It's like, no. We just have to think about how insane it was that if we went to the movies, God goes, heaven's full. You know what I mean? But that's what makes John Crist so funny, is how
you go to a movie, your guardian angel can't go with you.
Yeah, correct. And it's like, yeah, Gabriel's going to have to stay at the house for this one. You're going to endure lots of punishment because of it. All because you went and saw Cars 2 or whatever. But speaking of church, so, I meant to ask you this, or I wanted to ask you this on camera.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something on camera.
Okay,
where do you go to church?
Three Oaks.
Okay. Why is it called Three Oaks? Do you know?
It's all about the history.
Of an oak tree or what?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You don't know?
No.
Were the 3 oak trees on that when they cut them down?
Yeah. Yeah. There's an oak tree somewhere, and then they took an acorn and...
You have no idea.
No, I do know. I think it's about the 3 different steps that they took to get to where they are now. Like, it's the seed that was planted at the small church that our pastor's dad started. Then it was the seed that was planted at the church before they were building where we are now. And then I think the 3rd oak is the final.
I think you're making.
I'm not. I think this is true.
I'm going to look up the history. Everybody that watches this, go. First off, cool church. I love the church. Love your pastor. But look up the history of Three Oaks and see
It's
if
something
he's,
like that.
see if he's blowing smoke here, because I think he's just pulling it out.
I'm
of his
not.
head.
I
I think they cut down 3 oak trees to build your church.
that could be too. I don't
It
know.
could have been pine trees that'd be called
no.
3 pines.
It's
right
something
now.
about the sea. Okay. What were you saying? Okay. So
all of you church members that listen, there you go. You got to
I'm sure I will hear something.
comment to
I'm
him
sure.
next Sunday when you see him. Tell him, hey, here's the history of our church. If you want to really tell people.
Okay. I'm sure people go around and be like, what's the history of your church? You don't know? I'll never attend.
I know the history of my church. 2,500 years ago, a man came and was born of a virgin.
Oh, I knew that's what you were gonna say too.
Well, that's the history of my church. I don't know about yours. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, dude, I did see this black Christian comedian was like, they're like, what's the funniest thing someone joke somebody's ever told you? And he goes, it wasn't a joke. He goes, some little white lady came up to me and she goes, what's your Jesus like? And he's like, well, he was born of a virgin, died on a cross for my sins. He goes, my Jesus. He's like, it's our Jesus.
Speaking of that, I used to travel with, I helped start
with a black comedian.
a black church. Your mom and I were the only 2 white people in the church.
told people
Freddie Vernon is his name. Pastor Freddie Vernon.
Dude, people always look at me and they're like, man, you just got some soul in you. And I was like, I was born into it, baby.
So, yeah, we were literally the only 2 white folks. But Freddie Vernon was a good friend of mine growing up. We did a lot of evangelizing together. In fact, we did a survey of the city of Gary. I was born and raised in Gary, and Gary
Murder capital of the world.
Right, for years.
That's where Michael Jackson's dad beat him into greatness.
But we did a pictorial thing, and I went downtown with him, and we took pictures, and we were walking into very bad areas. Now, Freddie was.
So you mean just you went into Gary? Yeah.
Freddie was probably 5'4", maybe, small guy, but he was, I don't know, like a 7th degree black belt. Excuse me. And he was amazing. And he was one of those. He wasn't one of those fake guys that had to tell you how good he was. You would never know. He would.
Those are the scary guys.
Yeah.
It's the guys that are quiet that don't tell you how skilled they are the ones that will kill you.
So he had that little wheel thing where you held the wheel in your hand and you would stretch
you roll.
all the way
Yeah,
out, roll out, and then he would let you stand on his back while he was stretched out and his tummy would never. He also the one who taught me how to take a punch in the stomach, because I used to do that when I would speak to do magic and stuff for junior high schools. I would never let a high schooler hit me, but I would always be able to tense up my stomach muscles enough to where a kid could hit me 3 times, which is a Harry Houdini thing, because that's one of the things Harry Houdini. I can't do that now. I mean, I can.
But,
I just have
where did
padding
that serve Harry Houdini? Didn't he rupture a spleen getting punched one time?
Appendix, yeah.
Appendix,
his
yeah.
got ruptured, and but that
Punch me as hard as you can. Oh, all right. I'm good.
But he used to do all kinds of crazy stuff. But we were out. I was out taking pictures. Had probably at the time $5,000 worth of camera equipment with me, and we were not in.
And that was just a small, crappy camera back then.
We were not in a great area, and we were getting approached by a group of people. And I was a white guy with a black guy in an area that was not great. And he said, "Stay right here, don't move." And I said, "Okay." And he
anytime a black dude says stay right here, don't move, yes sir, whatever you need.
He walked up and had a conversation with the guys, and they kind of surrounded him a little bit, and he said something, and next thing I know, they turned around and walked away. And he came back, and the conversation, I said, "What did you say to them?" And he said, "Well, when one guy got in his face or something, he has that thing that Jackie Chan used, not Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee. He had that fast punch where he could punch you so hard it would knock your breath out." He had done that to one of the guys, and one of the guys was talking, and he reached up and punched him right in the solar plexus, where it takes his breath away instantly. And then he proceeded to say, well, tell the group of them what was going to happen if they didn't leave. And they all left. But he did it so fast, and so I didn't even see what was going on. But he did it so fast, and he did it in such a kind, quiet voice. He didn't do it with screaming and yelling at you and threatening you. And it was those scary ones where you're kind of going, "Oh, he can do this."
There's several stories of those UFC guys. That's how you know they're real fighters. People coming up to them and they just whisper like, "Hey, you don't want to do this." Who was it? Cowboy Cerrone, which you probably don't know the names, but Cowboy Cerrone, guy wears a cowboy hat. Spoiler alert! But he had somebody come up to him and he's like, "I'm gonna give you one chance to walk away." And the guy swung at him, dropped him in one punch, knocked out cold on the asphalt. He just went home. But yeah,
Steven Seagal can do that because I've seen him walk up and just push people's air
Hey,
and flip 3 people.
I'm sorry. The fact that there's people that actually believe that that's a real thing. You walk up and he just goes, and these people go flying 30 feet backwards.
Yeah.
Tom Segura's got a great bit about Steven Seagal, by the way. No, so speaking of church, somebody asked me because they were like, "Oh, you're a preacher's kid and you must be a terrible human being," you know. So that's typically what it is.
Because
like,
preacher's kids
yeah.
are looked at. 3 kids can do the same thing. If one's a deacon's kid, one's a preacher's kid, and one's just a regular kid, the preacher's kid is the worst. Then the deacon's kid talked him into it. You know, I got it.
Literally. And so someone's like, "Oh, your dad's a preacher," and I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh," they're asking me all these questions. They're like, "Next time you see your dad, you need to ask him about demons because my friend had a demon encounter while messing with a Ouija board." Which, first off, that can't happen, I'm pretty sure. But the way he described it, he's like, "We were playing with the Ouija board, and then she stood up and slammed herself into a wall and started going and rolling her eyes in the back of her head and all this." Okay, so he's like, "I need you to ask him if demons are real and what a real demon encounter looks like." I said, "Well, he doesn't work for the Vatican, but I'll ask." So I need you. Let's talk about demons here. All right. What are we talking here?
They absolutely are real.
Well, they are real, but I'm saying,
they do,
are we talking like
they
Hollywood?
They cannot possess a person that's saved, that's sealed by the Holy Spirit. Golly gee whiz. Now I make them go back through 8 years of college to come up with all the right answers. But
are people going to be flying on top of ceilings and walking on walls? And
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No. They are present. They do things. They do manifest things. I can tell you experiences I've had with angels, and demons are fallen.
Demons are fallen angels.
Fallen angels. I had as people. I don't know if I've ever talked about it before, but I have a condition where throughout my life my brain resets, and it's much like your computer when it just freezes
really is.
up. It freezes up, and the only thing you can do is reset your
Control,
computer.
Alt, Delete, Restart.
And my brain resets, and it's happened, I don't know, 6 or 7 times in my life. And a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago was the last time it happened. And I was
5. Yeah, 4 or 5.
I was in an inside office working, and it happened. I collapsed in the office. Don't remember this. This is what people tell me. And I was on the phone, or somehow the phone went to an emergency meeting button, whether I took, so they couldn't find me anyways. So long story short, when they did find me and the paramedics got into the room, got me to the hospital and whatnot, when I got back, I said, "Hey, the only thing I can remember is when I was out and on the floor, that somebody came and prayed over me and leaned down in my face, and they cuddled my neck." And I said, "I remember it's a young man, black vest, black leather coat." And I said, he comforted me until...
It was the Fonz.
Yeah. Hey. Sunday, Monday, happy days.
Sorry, go ahead.
You couldn't even do that anymore, quite frankly, because of the sexual way he snapped and girls would run to him. That would all be canceled and inappropriate today. But anyways, I remembered, so I told them that story, vividly remember it, and how it all happened, and that was comforted until the paramedics got there and got me.
Well, you were on the phone from what I remember, you had somehow dialed the police or 911, then you somehow dialed Mom, because Mom was talking about how she heard the dude talking over you.
Okay, there was something, yeah.
Because I wasn't even in the area at the time, and Mom called me and was like, "There's a guy who found Dad," and everybody was like, "What are you talking about? The office was closed. Like,
right.
No one was here."
So I went back after I got out of the hospital and went to the lady at the front counter and told her what she remembered me, obviously, because she let the paramedics in.
Your limp body was carried downstairs in front of her.
I told her, I said, "Look, who was the guy?" Because she let him in the office. The office was behind a locked door. She opened the button and let him in. I said, "Who was that guy that was there? I want to know who he is. I want to thank him and stuff." She said, "I don't know what you're talking about." She said, "When we opened the door, you were the only one in that room on the floor. And yet Ruth heard it. I remember talking to the person. I remember recounting it. And so there's no doubt in my mind that was an angel that manifested his presence there to keep me calm." So if that can happen, demon has the same powers as an angel. So
I had an encounter with a demon. I've told maybe 2 people this. I'm not even joking.
Okay.
I'm just like, I promise you, I'm not even making a joke here.
I've not battled one or encountered one that I can remember. I have talked to a lot of pastors that have a lot of phenomenal stories, and some that I know are embezzled, but some people like a Joe Adams, who, I mean, that man had never even stretched the truth, let alone told a fib. Some of the stories he has are just unbelievable. He's up in heaven right now, but
Oh yeah, Pastor Joe Adams. I remember him. He was awesome.
yeah, some of the miracles and some of the demons he's fought over the years are pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, demons are real. But what was your demon?
No,
story?
literally, I'll never forget. Hannah and I were laying in bed one night, 3:00 on the dot, which is considered the demon hour or whatever. I'm not even joking. This was 5-6 months ago. This was right. Hannah and I really like got plugged in at church and really felt the calling to get really involved and get like dive deep into God, and like we really just got on fire. And I was like, right after we had really committed hard, we were laying in bed, but 3 a.m. hit. I woke up like abruptly, like just I was up, and I my eyes drew to the corner of the room, and there was a giant black man, looked like a little skinny, slender man looking thing in the corner of the room, and it just kept like shaking its head at me, and I woke Hannah up, and because Hannah will attest this, I woke Hannah up, and I said, "Do you see what I see?" And we sat there, and I couldn't move. I was like paralyzed. Like we both were frozen. And when she goes, "Yes," and we sat there and we prayed and we prayed and we prayed hard, and like, in Jesus' name, get out. You're not gonna, mess with this household. Yada yada yada. And fell back asleep. We both woke up, and I was like, "Did you have a weird dream last night?" And she goes, "I don't think that was a dream. Like, that legit happened." And she recounted everything. I would fully believe that a demon saw that, was terrified about what 2 people who are on fire for God can do. And he's like, "I'm going to see if I can scare him back into stepping away." And it wasn't that we were like living in sin and doing cocaine. Like, we weren't doing anything bad. We just weren't, and we were just there. Like, we'd just show up on a Sunday and then we were dipping. And yeah, I vividly remember it. It was terrifying.
Well, I've heard a lot of stories like that, and I think that those are real. I think they're real experiences.
Did you ever deal with one as a pastor, or someone came in, they're like, "I'm demon possessed," or?
Yes. Yeah, I've had a couple of where I was part of a group of pastors that anointed and prayed over people
Get close to the mic, just
that thought they were demon possessed or were fighting a demon. But again, if they were a child of God, they were possessed, but they could have been being distracted by or led away from. But
threat. Yeah.
They weren't possessed by a demon. But that, there's a weirdness there because our mind does do strange things, and we have vivid memories and vivid imaginations. So yes, demons are real, but I also don't think you watch a scary movie and all of a sudden you're attacked by a demon. Or there's demons attached to certain movies. Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
growing up, I was taught the KISS, the group KISS, stood for Kids in Satan's Service or Kings in Satan's Service, which is not what
we were
it
also
stands
taught
for.
that
and that if you played it, you were releasing demons, and if you played it backward, it said the name of Satan and all that. None of that was true, and I don't believe that.
You love Satan. Yeah.
And I don't believe that. I've listened to their music, and I've not gone out and killed a puppy, and I don't feel bad. I don't deny Christ after I listen to it or hear it. So
I do think there are movies that they were made with demonic intentions, and they definitely, because I mean, there are some like scary movies that are centered around like Satan and demons that when you're watching it in high school, it would bother you, and it wasn't just because it was scary. Like, you just felt a weird.
Right. There are movies that I watch that are scary, and there are movies that give me the creeps.
Correct.
It gave me the creeps. I won't watch them because
like,
I can't enjoy it.
I'll watch your Fridays the 3rd, or your Jasons, your Freddy Krueger. Like, those are just like monster movies. But like what is it? The Conjuring 2, whatever. And I was just like, nah, I'm good. Like, I definitely think that music and movies can carry a demonic presence. I don't necessarily think, like you said, that you watch one scary movie and now all of a sudden a demon's latched onto you. But if there ever was going to be a way that Satan would influence or that demonic presence would be readily available to people, music, movies, stuff that people fill their days with.
I do believe that evil can use that to distract us from our belief system, to distract us from our morals, to distract us from, our upbringings. But, some people, it kind of goes along with the kind of idea of hypnotism. Some people don't believe in that. And I didn't. I had never been hypnotized. I was taught how to hypnotize when I was in high school. I had a teacher who was a professional hypnotist, and I attended a lot of his things. And I saw people do weird things and people swear things. And we were at one party where he'd have whatever, a whole group of teenagers there, and we'd 50 as he'd lay them down and try to hypnotize them. Then he'd pick out the ones that were susceptible to it and bring them up and get them deeper in there. And he one particular one, there was a guy who was a very good piano player, and he was
pretty good what?
Piano player.
Oh, piano player.
Yeah, he was a pianist. They brought him up in front and set him on like a footstool with a table in front of him and said, "You now are getting ready to play your most important concert ever." And on the front row is Bach and Beethoven and Chopin, and they're sitting there, and you're going to be playing. And when you hear this noise, you make a mistake. And so he came out, took a bow, everybody clapped for him, and he started playing nothing. He's playing on a tabletop with his fingers going back and forth, and whatever the cue was for him to make a mistake, he made a mistake. He paused, broke out into sweat, got all nervous, and jumped up and took off running, ran out the door. I remember it was at a trailer court in Lowell, Indiana. And we went out and searched for him.
If there was ever a place for demonic activity, that definitely sounds like trailer park. And yeah,
we ran past the tornado.
This was at a trailer park.
Yeah,
come on, kids, come see Dan the hypnotist. No, don't tell your parents you're here.
It was at the whatever you call it, the little house, the hub, the middle, the
rape dungeon or whatever. Yeah, I'm just saying that's
the clubhouse. It was at the clubhouse for it. It was an upscale
clubhouse, tool shed, same thing.
And then, I mean, I've seen it several times, and I tried to get hypnotized, never could. But last year when I went to Vegas for our convention, Jason and I...
For your magic convention, not your hypnotist convention.
No, Jason Michaels and I. By the way, if you're listening and you're anywhere in the area...
We're going to plug at the end. That way people remember.
See the magic show. So
yeah, great. It is a great show.
And Jason Michaels and I went to a show, and after we saw a show and we hung out with the magician for a few minutes, they go, "Hey, stay in. There's a hypnotist afterwards." And I was telling Jason some of the stories, and there's a whole lot more stories than that one, and some of the crazy things. And I learned how to do it, and I was successfully able to do it a few times. His wife is a certified hypnotherapist, and she's first off a brilliant person. But she actually, you get a license and a degree in it, and she does. And it helps you stop overeating, cigarettes, addictions, depression. There's all types of things that they can do that. And so we stayed, and I got chosen to go up on stage. And I ended up being one of the last 2 or 3 people on stage that went under the longest. And I went up there with the idea, there's no way, I've never been hypnotized. I'm just, at my age, I'll go up there and fall asleep or something. So,
did we kill this guy? He's just taking a nap.
So, and the weird part about it is I remember being up there and I remember stuff happening, but I don't remember what happened, or I kept thinking, wake up, get up, walk off. This is stupid. I was telling myself that. But I never could until at the end when they woke up, and I don't remember what I did. Now Jason bought the tape, which you'll never, ever, 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 ever have. he bought the thumb drive. You could get a thumb drive of the whole 45 minutes.
I'll put it in the will.
And I have the thumb drive of watching me, and I've watched it, and it's weird because I don't remember it. So
It could have been a brain reset, though, right? We were talking about this brain reset disease. He's like, how many of you have brain resetting diseases? Oh, 6 of you? Come on up.
So, but it was funny because they could tell people, he could tell right away the people that were faking it, that wanted to be in.
Yeah. You're going to go to sleep.
Yeah. And I was purposely kind of going, you're not going to get me. I was determined that it was not going to happen. And it happened. So, and I know that, again, Jason's wife is a hypnotherapist, and she says it's very successful. So there is a subconscious to us that we can, that we don't control, that we can learn to control. And I think that's where demonic powers tries to take you to, your subconscious, to try to get you to say, it's not as bad as somebody else, or it really wasn't, it really was, that person really intended to hurt you or be mean to you. And because, growing up in a house that was where I was a pastor for almost 30 years, the people that hurt our family the most were the most devout Christians, the deacons or the head honchos in the church, or those were the ones who, and you and I had a business together for 10 years. How many times did we get shafted by just a regular person? Never.
Maybe once or twice.
How many times did we get taken advantage of by somebody who had the Jesus bumper sticker and used Jesus' name 15,000 times while we were there?
I think the devil uses that purposely to drag God and Jesus' name through the mud.
Right.
It's like Jeff
absolutely.
Foxworthy did that famous thing he said. He goes, I walked away from church for a long time because I was so church hurt. And in fact, my pastor said
from Three Pines.
Yeah, from Three Oaks, the Three Oaks that he collected by hand in Italy or wherever it was. He said something one Sunday that was so simple yet so profound. And he's like, the devil comes to church too. He's like, so often we think that we walk through these doors and just because it's a church, it's just us Christians here. So where do you think the devil's at on a Sunday morning? He's not going to the guy's home who's sitting at home, who came home from a bender all night and is hungover. He's coming through these doors to sow the discord between the people at church. And so many people are like, oh, I have a bad, history because of church and because of Christians. And it's like, oh, I think that's 100% the devil doing it on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then he can take the name of God and be like, see, it was that Christian who screwed you, not the person selling heroin. Or, you know what I mean? Like that, but we blame all Christians for what I think the devil's doing behind the scenes.
Oh, because all he has to do is sow just a little seed of discord in, for example, the interpretation of what scripture you use. I have debated nationally the King James 1611 version only thing. I've debated that for years. But, he can use something like that to destroy churches and families and people. And, I've been part of a church where at a revival service, they wanted to, they talked horrible about all the other versions of the Bible and had you throw your Bible away, and they threw 800 Bibles in the dumpster.
Oh, perfect.
And they were proud of it. And versus, and by the way, then turned around and sold them a King James version of the Bible.
Well, yeah. Well, listen, I need you to throw all your belongings away, but buy it all from us because it's blessed by God.
Right. So I think, he does use that kind of stuff to all he has to do is throw it out there, and Christians will go after it like dogs after a bone to hurt each other.
Well, I think that's the same thing with not religions, denominations. That's 100% I think used to sow discord amongst the church. Is another thing that I like about Three Oaks is like one of the things that they talked about when they were talking about collecting the Three Oaks from Fort Lauderdale. The one thing he talked about is just like, we're a church that worships God and uses the Bible as our path to what guides us. He's like, there's Presbyterians, there's 40 different religions under our denominations under our umbrella. But he's like, it's all because we're all serving the same king and the same Bible. And he goes, if that Bible says something, we're going to follow what it says.
Right. And there, as far as I know, there's 174 versions of Christianity.
Oh, everybody's a
Christian.
Christian now. Everybody's I'm a Christian. I know I'm not. I'm a non-practicing one that believes in Satan, but I'm a Christian. It's like, whoa, wait, what?
So, but yeah, and I think part of that is demonic activity. Back to what you
Agreed.
started with, that if we can get our dander up and fight and argue over that, then we spend so much time. I know there's people that spend so much time arguing over what version they use in the Bible, more time than they spend actually reading their Bible.
That's a true fact right there. Well, it's just like there's nothing the devil hates more than somebody who's doing what God wants him, that's walking in God's will. Look at Job. Job had everything taken away from him, and still yet to curse God's name.
It's the best joke ever.
Oh, he's like,
Yeah.
think about how Job's, how bad Job's wife was. God took, or he had everything taken from him, and the devil's like, not his wife.
Took his wealth, his kids, his servants, his house.
Didn't touch his wife.
What about his wife? No.
We're gonna leave his wife.
We're gonna leave his wife. Yeah.
Who is that guy?
I don't know who it was. But
Oh my gosh,
that's a whole long.
Tim Hawkins.
Is that
yeah,
who-
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, we were just talking about demons. So you're not going to be walking on walls and flying and puking, acidic vomit and stuff.
Nope.
Okay, that's good to know. So you can play with your Ouija boards as much as you want, and you won't.
Now,
No, that's a joke,
Okay.
clearly. But
Ouija boards again. I have been around people. I have been in. As dumb as it was, I have been in areas where they turned off all the lights, lit candles, and actually asked the Ouija board questions. And what was funny is my argument was it was always answering weird ways and stuff. And I always said my argument for that was, all right, if there's really a demon here, then everybody take your hands off the little Ouija thing, the little, I don't know what they call that.
yeah, I don't know.
The little, cream looking dial thingy. Take your hands off and let that thing point itself without people touching it. And it never worked. So, if the demon can move it when your hands are on it, but it can't move it when your hands aren't on it, I'm kind of going, yeah, somebody's mad at you and they're trying to spell out, I hate you or you're going to die.
Carol stole my boyfriend. Weird. Why did the Ouija board spell that?
How did they know that? And I've heard stories of people say, their house burned down and the only thing that didn't burn was the Ouija board and all that kind of stuff.
You did see, we've had tornadoes literally the last 4 days. It's been miserable because I have a wife that is terrified of them because she doesn't come from a place with tornadoes. Our puppy, it gets so worked up he pukes. So for 4 days this week, I was in a closet, 5x5, 6x6 closet with a wife over here with 5 pillows around her, which
I love the fact that she stuffed pillows around her.
she took all of our couch pillows, every single one of them, and they're all around her like a fort. Like we're making forts as children. I'm holding the dog who's just doing this. And it's 3 a.m. Another tornado warning goes off. She's like, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm like, sit here. There's nothing we can do. The dog looks at me and just goes, throws up all over my lap. I'm in a closet with throw up on my lap with a wife freaking out. Part of me was like, it could come. You know what I mean? Listen, God, 425. Like I almost just started giving my address out. I was like, but no, what I was saying is there's all these massive tornadoes. There was a horrible one. Is it Selma, Tennessee? Literally houses decimated, people killed. It's awful. But literally in one of the houses that was absolutely crushed and I think 2 or 3 people died. There's a Bible, the only thing that was flipped up. And it was sitting on top of the. Now someone could have set it there, but it looked like
that
it was.
happened at my house.
It looked like it was flipped up.
When my shop burned down 25 years ago. My Bible that I have 2 Bibles. One I had when I was 5. One I got when I was 7. And the one 7 I wanted as a reward from my pastor. So it's got his signature in it and his name and
Pastor signed Bibles like that.
Yeah.
And Pastor David.
And that was another thing, and that is, we grew up in the era of you got people's to autograph your Bible.
I mean, maybe Jesus,
yeah,
but
and over the years and back in the day when I would travel and do that kind of stuff, I signed a lot of Bibles, but I sat back and look at it now. I'm kind of going, why am I signing? I'm not the author, or I don't know. Anyways, we had that fire. I don't know how old you were.
I mean, I don't even know if I was alive, but I remember. Just
you may not have been, because I remember.
I don't think I was. I think Jen and Jessica. Excuse me. I think Jessica was like a baby.
Well, it was your little brother was still in diapers, so you weren't alive yet, right?
Okay,
he's older than you.
Justin was still in diapers. Yeah.
How old? He's 2 years older than you.
16 months. But
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you may have been then a baby in arms then. So, anyways, my shop burned down, and the only thing that didn't burn was my Bible, and it was sitting. Now the top cover is melted and it's leather, obviously not real leather, but it's kind of crinkled up and stuff. But the rest of it was in fine shape, and I still have it, and it still smells like fire.
It's kind of creepy,
and I think,
or not creepy.
But I don't think that. I think that was done as a blessing to me, not that there was something special about those pieces of paper that were fireproof. I think.
Yeah.
Whether it was my guardian angel or whether the Lord preserved that,
or the Lord just wanted to let
blessing.
you know, like in tragedy, and like I'm still here.
I'm still here.
It's just like in 9/11, the steel and everything melted, and there's literally just a cross sitting on.
When the government blew up those buildings, I mean, when those airplanes.
I saw some clip from some movie, and it was Everybody Loves Raymond, whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond? Is it? No, is that his real name? No, what's his real name? Is it Raymond?
No.
No, what? You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he was in it, and he was sitting across.
No, that's his real name.
Yeah, I think it is. Ray Romano. It is, yeah.
And that's why he came up with the name, is because when something happened, his brother said when he was a kid.
Well, Everybody Loves Raymond. Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with him, and he didn't want that as the title. He didn't think that was a good title, but the producer loved it.
It's a great show, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Clean comedy, which is the new Nate Bargatze kind of a concept of clean comedy.
What is true, though, is like I don't want to be sitting there on pins and needles if someone comes over to my house, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, and I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, I hope they don't, I hope there's no nudity.
Right. I don't need to hear about your bodily functions.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, I got you.
And so, but anyways, you're talking about 9/11. He goes, I forget what TV show it was, but he's sitting across from a Muslim guy, and he's like, what did you think about 9/11? And he goes, it was a terrible, 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 tragic day. It's like, we lost 9 good men on that day. Because it was the 9 terrorists. I was like, oh, okay. That was pretty funny. But yeah. Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've eclipsed an hour.
Have we?
Yeah. That was good. That's good conversation.
Can I say one thing before we leave?
No, yeah, go.
We never landed on the moon.
This is his new thing, guys. His new thing is he just gets into character. He's like, I'm going to be Don Rickles today. And then he just calls you ugly all day or stupid. Or we'll be sitting at dinner. Because I ask you and Mom out to dinner once or twice a week just to see you guys hang out. And we'll just be sitting there. He'll be quiet or he'll be on his phone. He'll just put it down. He'll look up and be like, John F. Kennedy was assassinated by our own people. And I'm like, what are we doing now? This is just his new thing. He's like, we didn't land on the moon. Jews aren't real. And I'm like, what?
I've never said Jews aren't real.
Well, I know, but still.
And the new documents prove that, there was more to the Kennedy
What I'm saying is, for some reason, you hit an age and you've morphed into just like controversial guy.
Yeah. So.
Like everything your brain,
What's not controversial is what to do on a Saturday night in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, I was just about to say, the last few minutes are yours. Plug your guys' show. I've seen it 3-4 times now.
Jason Michaels live turned into Nashville Magic. Jason Michaels live. With myself, Lawrence James opening for Jason, and Jason's traveled the world. In fact, leaves next month to go travel for a month, entertaining our troops. But it's a magic show. It's the longest running magic show we have in Nashville. It's been running for 3.5 years. And we're at a new location in Third Coast Comedy Club in the Annex upstairs. And it's a nice theater, seats 50 people.
Get close to that mic. I want to make sure these people get
seats 50 people. And so far, we've sold out every week since we've moved there in January, and love it. It allows us to do some theatrical things with lighting and different things.
It's a
we couldn't
show.
do.
Like
Yeah.
I've been to all your shows previously, and it was more like it was in a cool spot, but it didn't feel like a show. It was a show, but it wasn't. This is a spectacle. It's got intro videos and lights and cameras and it's a whole show. There's stage, it's a production. Where can they buy tickets? At jasonmichaels.com,
Yeah,
right?
just jasonmichaels.com. We have the new website, NashvilleMagic.com, up, but I don't think you can buy tickets through there yet. And then
or
my
Larry Courtright on
uh,
on Facebook or something. You can
yeah.
find
my
link-
my
you post
website
on
is
it.
justplainmagic.com, and I don't think it's live yet. But we have just Google any of those, you'll find us. And then I've got several dates coming up where we're traveling up to Louisville, down to Jacksonville, where we're doing our show. I have shows coming up for the Wilson County School System. I have several shows coming up there.
You'll be at
I'll be
House of Cards
again
in a couple weeks.
This Saturday.
Yeah,
and
this
then,
Saturday.
A week from Sunday, I'll be back at the House of Cards on the main stage. And we have 2 new additions to my show after many, many years. I got 2 doves this week. I had doves for years.
Yeah.
And my oldest dove was Harry, after Harry Houdini. And he died when he was 14 years old and performed with me since he was like 6 months old. And he's the only one I've ever paid to
Kind of a slave owner, right? You know?
paid to have brain surgery. He developed a brain tumor, and I actually paid at the time it was a lot of money, $85 to. But I took him to the vet.
I wish surgery cost $85.
I went to the vet, and he goes, "I've never done surgery on a bird. I'd like to try it." And I went, "Go for it." And he explained to me. He put him in a shoebox.
Go for it. This $85 is my life savings. You save this dove.
He put him in well, when you could get a new dove back then for $5, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
And that was hand raised. I was selling them for $5 to $10 after they were hand raised. But he put him in a shoebox, put the gas in there, knocked him out, took the brain tumor out, and Harry went on for another 4 years to perform. So,
Thank God. You saved me from my brain tumor. Get back to work. Climb in the bag. I need to produce you out of this card trick.
Although he had done it so much, when I would play his music that he was used to hearing, he would get up and ready to perform. So,
dude, it's Saturday, bro. I don't get a day off.
So my 2 new birds, I think the kids named them. I had the grandkids over the other night, and I don't remember what they're 2 stupid Disney names, Awana and I don't know.
Probably Moana and
Chartreuse
Stitch or something.
Yeah. No, and it's Moana, and I don't know. What's the other one? What's Moana's better half or something? I don't know. But they were arguing over what the name of them, and they're just birds right now. So we'll see. But
it's a great show. It's a great date night. We've had several friends. We brought friends when they were still trying out the new show at the new location, and no lights, none of that. And they're like, "Oh, that was awesome." I'm like, it's getting to be the production that it is now. Now it's stage, lights, videos, and all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, you're connected right there with Third Coast Comedy Club and the Annex.
We have all these 5-star ratings, and I will say one of the things is I've seen, I don't know, hundreds of magic shows. I love them all. When you leave our show, you remember things about it. It touches you where, rather than just saying, "Hey, that was a good show."
You touch people?
No, you have to pay extra for that.
That's the VIP package.
But yeah, that's the VIP.
I was promised a foot massage and a thigh rub. No, okay.
The girl who runs the girl who works there from Third Coast, Brittany, she said she saw a particular trick, the gypsy thread trick, that where he tears the thread up. I don't tell the rest of it because you got to come see it. But she said, I still get chills when I see that, and she said it just means so much to me.
Well, it's because it's a comedy magic show, but I've been trying to get Jason's butt on here, so maybe this will pressure him because I've been trying to get him over because he's got a fascinating story and all that. But it's hilarious, but at the same time, you guys are able to bring it in where it's like, oh, wow, that was like a really cool moment. And it's not just like is this your card? All right, see ya, get out of here. Like, it's funny, but it's also inspirational just based on Jason's story and background. And it's a very complete show. I've been to hundreds of magic shows as well. And every time I've gone back, I've enjoyed it. And I wouldn't say, I would just look at you and be like, yeah, I'm done. Like, this is stupid. Because I did it the last one. I was just like, it's just not, it wasn't a good theater. You couldn't really interact. It was hard to see. It didn't feel like a show. It just felt like you were going into a room and then some guy stood up there and was like kind of yelling magic tricks at you. And I'm like, this is weird. This is like a full on production show and it's awesome. Yeah.
Good.
So, go buy tickets, sell them out. It's a great date night. Well, how much are tickets?
$40, $45 somewhere in there.
So literally for $100 or $120, you get a
It's
great
free parking. So
it's free parking. So it's easy. Literally, you can park right there and walk right across. It's not like it's a blocks and blocks away. You go get a nice dinner or something. It's a great date night. And I love House of Cards, but House of Cards is just like, okay, you're going in and you're going to spend $180. So it's just like that's not your typical date night. Most people don't have
$180 a head.
Correct. So it's like, okay, this is just for $120. You can have a really sweet date night. It's intimate, but also a production.
And it's casual too, so you can come dressed as you are. You can wear a collared shirt like me.
Well, so a lot of people
House of Cards is an event.
House of Cards. You have to have a sport coat in that, or it's like
it is nice. Retro 1920s bar atmosphere. It's a beautiful.
House of Cards is its own spectacle. Like I see that. That's like the Disney World of magic. That's like its own spectacle, its own thing. It's high end, that kind of a thing. Whereas like this is, hey, I want something to do next Friday, and you're like me. It's like I'm almost 30. I'm not going to go sit in Jason Aldean's bar with a bunch of 19-year-olds sweating on me. Like, what are we doing? And it beats like there's no good movies out. What are you going to go watch the Minecraft movie?
I'm going to go watch Snow White for the 7th time. I watched it 6 times.
Oh, you're all 19 viewers you? Yeah.
So,
but no, it's a great show, Dad. Thanks for coming on. It's a good episode, man. I mean, I could go on for another hour and a half, but
now I have to go to the bathroom. So
I was about to say you've sat down still for an hour, so I'm sure you've got to pee. But thank you for coming on. I'm glad you didn't have to hold a microphone this time. Thank you for teaching me about demons and double feature. At That's Life with Jacob on social media, Lawrence James, Jason Michaels, follow, like, share, thumbs up, thumbs down, tell me to go kill myself, whatever you want. We love you. We'll see you next time.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say.